Welcome to Unscripted with Akarsh Khurana. Shriya Pilgaonkar, in a very short span of time, has managed to do a significant amount of work on stage and on screen. Gives me great pleasure to welcome to the show a good friend and gifted actor, Shriya Pilgaonkar. Hello, Shriya, and
Hello, Akash.
welcome to this episode of Unscripted with Akarsh Khurana.
Thank you, Akarsh Khurana, for having
Yes,
me on your unscripted show.
I've actually been wanting to meet you since forever. I've been watching your work. I'm a big fan, but I never got a chance to engage with you socially.
Really? Have you watched
So-
Guilty Minds? Let's talk about the work that you've watched. Have you watched anything?
Guilty Minds? No, I haven't. I haven't. I did see you in a show called Taza Khabar, though.
Okay, because your other close friends were also, they were writing the show.
I don't have any friends in the industry as
course
such,
you don't.
acquaintances perhaps, but
Nice.
but I'm really happy to make your acquaintance.
Love this formal chat that we've
Yes.
never had.
Actually, I want to start with Chiyu. So Chiyu is a pet name of yours that I use quite liberally, and I believe that came from your parents. Is that true?
Yes.
It is something that your parents used to call
So
you.
I think it's like Shriya, Shriyu, Chiyu. Chiyu is also like a little baby sparrow.
And that's your
It's,
personality, is it? So how does that?
I don't think I'm as chirpy as a baby sparrow is, or perhaps I am. I don't
But maybe
know.
like that constant annoying sound of
Not
a,
annoying,
okay.
sweet sound.
Okay, so
Sweet
Chiyu.
sound.
The first thing I want to do, and the thing is, of course, people know who your parents are, but I actually wanted to start with you talking to me about your parents because I've heard about it, but I don't know if the world's ever heard about your equation with them and your impression of them, and being born into a world where they were both already very established,
Yeah.
actors,
Yeah.
and more.
Oh my God. I can go on and on about this question for sure because
That's
I
fine.
mean,
I'm filling space in any case.
of
ना, मतलब
course.
कितनी बात करूँगा तेरे से?
Yes. Honestly, I know it to say it like that will sound very typical and cliche, but man, I feel so blessed because it really has always felt like I live with these two roommates who I learn so much from. They're very different people, their personalities are very different. And their life experience is so vast that I don't need to step outside my house to learn anything.
Right,
My education has happened through their stories in a way.
right.
Life experience is not always what you live, it's also what you hear, what
Hear,
you listen,
absolutely.
the conversations you have.
And you have that privilege back at home.
Absolutely. And think about it, Akash. My father started working at the age of 5. He won his first national award at the age of 5.
Wow.
And he has acted in more than 200 films. And it's his 55th year in this film industry as an actor, as a writer, as a director, as a producer. And this has been his life.
Right.
Really,
Yeah,
this has been
This
his
is what
life.
he knows best. So,
Really, absolutely, and in different aspects. And I can see him as somebody who enjoys every minute. And what I love is that he still has that hunger, that enthusiasm, and he keeps it fresh for himself.
Do you remember like a moment where you realized who he was to the world?
Yes, my parents, every time they would come to drop me to school, I could sense the energy around me change.
That people were recognizing.
Of course.
Right.
And I knew my parents were
Did
actors.
this, yes,
And
yes.
even when I was very young, I have that memory of visiting them. But that felt very natural to me. It didn't feel like this is something extraordinary happening. It felt like this is their job.
Right.
They're actors. And it came very naturally for me to sort of accept a film set. And which is why I was very comfortable in front of the camera, around an audience, with people performing. And I always remembered that I would always observe the respect with which people approached my parents.
Right.
And that was very nice for me to see. But at home, my upbringing has been super simple, super normal, genuinely. And we're a non-filmy family in that sense.
But I mean, the thing is, what is an important kind of, I think, development that happens is that, of course, you are their daughter and they've seen you grow up, and now you've kind of emerged into an independent artist yourself.
Yes.
How has your equation changed with them over the years in terms of, as with your emergence?
Yeah.
And you also was there ever a question about you actually going into any other field?
In fact, acting was genuinely something that I was not veering towards at all.
And what was their take on that?
It's really funny because so growing up, of course, I never had like a one word answer for what I wanted to do.
Yeah, sure.
Astronaut, detective, food critic, at one point civil services, a social entrepreneur, a linguist. I mean, I kept Kathak dancer, filmmaker. I had many interests. I still have many interests. And I think because I've observed that my parents also enjoy doing multiple things, I was never pressurized to have this one word for what I want to do in life. They always encouraged me to explore. And that's what I did. But I always felt like, what is that one thing that I stand for? Because around me, even at St. Xavier's, everybody had one thing. They were doing multiple things, but you were always that painter first and then you did other things. And I felt like I never had that one thing, right? And
Your identity.
I
Your
asked
calling
myself
card. Yeah, okay.
back then. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't view it like that anymore, like you don't need to.
Yeah.
But I feel like I always had a performer's instinct, and I feel like because I thought it would be too predictable for me to do this,
To follow the same, yeah.
I felt like let me explore other things. And वो mentality कैसे होती है? I was good academically and I enjoyed studying genuinely. And my mother told me, she said, why don't you explore maybe, foreign services, civil services, all of that. So somewhere I think she was daydreaming about that. I was a competitive swimmer. So she, for her excitement, was thinking that acha na my daughter might do this, might do that. And then one fine day, after a few months of making short films, doing a course at FTI, a filmmaking course, a friend of mine who I met
You
there.
did a course in FTI?
Yes.
Okay.
Where I met Karan Shetty.
Yes.
And I met him and he said that, Shriya, I heard you're a Kathak dancer.
Karan is now quite a leading ad filmmaker.
Yes, he's a leading ad filmmaker. And he said to me that there's an NCPA short and sweet festival happening.
Yes.
There's a 10-minute play. I need someone who can sing, dance and act. Will you audition for me? I said, sure. And I'd done little short films before, but I didn't overthink that.
Right.
And I said, acha, audition. And okay, and he came over and then with
Audition
him...
पे ऐसा ego hurt हुआ?
बिल्कुल नहीं
अच्छा, हाँ.
बिल्कुल नहीं अभी भी देती हूँ auditions. Karan said, I'm bringing the actor in this with you, and a boy named Priyanshu Penuli with his djembe has entered.
Sounds familiar.
It
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
familiar,
yeah.
very familiar. He's entered the room, and these boys are sitting, and I did a little bit of Kathak. I sang a song, and I enacted a scene, and he said, okay, you're on board. And for that 10-minute play, I have rehearsed for 1 month.
Wow.
And I know you'll hate me for this because perhaps I've never given 1 month to a rehearsal for any of our plays.
I have barely given 1 month to myself.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
In those 10 minutes, I felt more present than I have ever felt before. And I was enjoying the process. I was enjoying that mehnat. I was enjoying what was happening to me physically, spiritually. I was feeling more of me than I've ever felt before. And my parents were observing all of this. And then one day my mother's come to me and said, don't tell me you want to act.
Nice.
This is what she
Nice.
said. I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm figuring it out. I mean, it's not like I have an epiphany. I mean, I'm just seeing where it goes. And she said to me in Marathi, तुला माहिती आहे ना तयार व्हायला लागतं खूप. Because she knows I was very lazy to get dressed up. And,
Nice.
she said, you have to take care of yourself. You're so lazy. Are you going to be able to do all of that? Because when you decide to be an actor, you're not just going to act. There's
Yeah.
a whole lot of things you have to be mentally prepared
Alongside,
for.
yes, yes.
Are you ready for that?
Yes.
I said, look, right now I just want to go perform this play. And I'm not going to make any commitments right now. Let's see. And I've never spoken about this, but it's bizarre. When I was on that stage at the NCPA Short and Sweet Festival performing Freedom to Love for the first time.
Which I watched, yes.
Yes, that's where I guess we met for the first time. While performing, I had this really weird out-of-body experience where I just knew this is what I was supposed to do. While
Nice.
I was singing
On
that
stage.
Milke Bichhad Gayi Akhiyan, that one line, doing all of that. And yes, that was where it all started. And eventually I said,
And
yes,
did the
I'm
parents
ready.
come and watch it?
Yes, my parents watched it, and while my mother really enjoyed it, but I think in her mind she was still wondering कि अच्छा भी बेटी actress बन गई है क्या
ये
अभी
गई
क्या
हाथ से
होगा
गई,
गई हाथ से.
हाँ.
And my father, coincidentally at that point, was working on a script, a father-daughter story.
Right.
And he was writing it, and he was considering other actresses. He wanted to introduce a new actor.
New actor, yeah.
And in fact, dad has been known in the industry for introducing, including my mother, a lot of actresses who are doing really well.
Your dad introduced
In
you-
films.
Really?
Yes, in a film called Navri Mein Navrala.
Okay. But
which
she was
means
already acting on TV.
theatre,
Okay,
theatre,
Okay.
which, as you know, back then those plays would be telecast on TV as well.
Right.
So, as a film actress, dad introduced mum as well, and
Oh, wow.
several others. So, when he watched the play, the first thing he said to me is, he said that I really loved watching you, and I'm saying this not as a father. I'm saying this as somebody, as an actor. And I've written a script. I would love for you to read it. And if you like it, I would love for you to be a part of it. And he
Wow.
never said, ye kar lo. So I felt like, in a way, I almost auditioned
Yeah.
for him then. So it was lovely. But still, I didn't think of myself as, acha, ab main actress ban gayi hu. And usually people have this dream bachpan se, and they start grooming themselves and all of this, right? I mean, today the definition of that has changed completely. But as a 23-year-old, it felt like I was starting late.
Right.
That was the impression.
Right.
So everybody was like, oh, you want to act now, but what happened to that? What happened to this? I felt like I had to give too many explanations to people. But I said, you know what, let me just do my job quietly, and when it has to happen, it will.
Yeah.
And my father always tells me that learn from your seniors, but also learn from your juniors.
That's
so today
a
he's
lovely
somebody
point, yeah.
who's always open to learning, and he always embarrasses me by saying this. But when he did his first OTT show,
Okay. Huh.
he watched my work because he wanted to say कि क्या सुर
What is
पकड़ते
the
हैं.
what's the
And
आजकल
he
क्या
said
चल
that
रहा
to
है?
me. I said,
हाँ.
Papa, don't say that. That's so embarrassing. What do you mean? He said, no, but he said, I also learned from you. So, and I feel like this is such an important trait, just in generally, like
Right.
in life,
Right.
that when I started acting, I just knew that it's going to be, I can never try and take the place of that goodwill
No,
that
it's
they've,
it's an independent journey
Absolutely.
also. So yeah.
So for me to carve my niche and for people to know me for who I am was always important. So hopefully a little bit of that has happened now.
And you've observed them. You've now have your own craft, and you're looking at their processes. How are they different as actors? What is there different about their approach?
Their
Not from you,
approach.
from each other.
I think my mother is much more instinctive as an actor.
Right.
But I don't think she sees the cinematic value in those things. So even if my mother's doing a film with Steven Spielberg versus doing, like, say, play or an Indian, like a
Or a film with
serial,
me, yeah.
or you. So she won't have like, for her, it won't be ki what is the scale of it and, the grandeur of it. No, I think my mother's quite present like that. But because my dad has seen the business, he'll understand much more than
The
just
larger
that
picture.
scene. The larger
The
picture.
larger picture.
So I just feel like in that sense, I always say my dad's the star and my mom's the actor.
Nice.
That's the vibe. I see
Who are you
both
more
in
like?
that.
In
I'd
your
like to
approach?
believe I'm a bit of both.
You're a star and an actor.
I would
Okay.
like to believe that.
Okay.
I have to
Lovely.
think of myself in my head as a star if I want to become one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that's manifestation
Yes,
and stuff like that,
yes.
right? Besides the little Marathi reprimand of don't be lazy if you want to be an actor.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you got
Not
from both of them?
lazy. Not don't be lazy. Like, you have to get ready. तैयार वाला लगता in the sense that you have
There's
to
a lot of work that
dress
you have to
up.
put in, and you have to dress up. You
a
can't
lot.
be casual about it.
Yeah.
So besides that,
Yeah.
what's the best advice you got, acting advice you got from mum or dad and both? Or warnings?
Warnings. Well, dad has always said one thing to me, that no work is too big or too small. No role is a big role or a small role.
And is that an approach you use?
Always.
Okay.
That's also been the reason why sometimes I've picked things which maybe might not have had a lot of screen time, but it's my responsibility to create that vazan, give it that vazan. And today, especially with OTT, I think that mindset is changing. It's no more just about the protagonists, right?
Right.
Everybody's a character.
Absolutely.
And that's the writing also reflects that. My mother has put a lot of emphasis on me and my internal journey in this process, wherein she has always guided me to develop a certain internal strength, wherein she said that do not value yourself based on the success of your projects.
Nice. But My first experience with you personally was of you being a filmmaker, and you had made a wonderful documentary where you
Called
had
the Painted Signal and Dresswala.
and you had gone also. You were going to Brazil or you were going to South America
Yes.
to shoot
Yes, a
something. And
travel film scholarship
yes,
that I won.
yeah, and you
Yeah.
were doing all of that, and
Yes.
there was a great instinct you had for being a filmmaker,
Yes.
and you directed a large portion of my first film, which was
Thank you for
so.
that. That meant a lot to me
Yeah, no.
back
So I was,
then.
and because I saw your work, and I did a film called Sunsilk Real FM, which Anurag Basu had produced, and you actually shot a large portion of it. You shot,
Second unit.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was a very important part of the film where
Yeah.
which was, and it was all used. So I mean, that looked like something that you were pretty fantastic at, and you also enjoyed. So what happened to that dream?
It's very much there.
But it's taken a bit of a backseat for a while.
It had to, because I was trying to find momentum as an actor, and I feel like 2022 has been a very important year for me, because somewhere I felt progress was made, because I had.
And great success,
Thank
touch wood.
you.
So yeah,
So I had good releases, good, the critical and audience love was something that was very important to me. So I felt like, अच्छा, 2-3 कदम, आगे मैं बढ़ रही हूँ. When I started off as an actor, I remember Instagram on the bio, it said filmmaker actor. And somebody told me that remove the filmmaker, because you're starting off as an actor. You don't want to confuse people. And I said, okay, and I removed it. And I understand why that advice was given to me. Not a friend, but somebody from the business said that to me. And, I was auditioning, and I think you just don't want this to play on your mind. So I felt like I want to focus as an actor first. And the meanwhile, I'm learning. I'm still learning. Even when I'm on a set, Akarsh, my eyes and ears are open with things in terms of even production, what is happening. I'm actually sitting and having chats with like line producers, EPs, because I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know how it's done. I want to understand lenses. So for me, it's like my little film school every day, even as an actor. Although I'm completely focused, but I also like to know what's happening behind the camera. The mistakes also, you want to know what not to do. So I don't think I'm ever just present or I'm watching things just as an actor. I'm also somewhere trying to
picking
build
up,
that,
yeah, right.
and observing things around, and hopefully when I find an idea that I know I want to do, I'll do it. And during COVID, I had this realization that it has to be today, not someday. So instead of thinking of directing as something in the future, I'm somewhere coming closer to warming up to the idea that, Shriya, life is fragile. It's too short. If you're excited about something, do it now. So maybe I do have a couple of ideas. So
Oh,
I
okay.
am very seriously trying to, and very patiently, taking my time to develop them. But it's very much going to happen.
But you're enjoying your journey as an actor right now.
Oh, very much.
And
But sometimes the worry is that I don't know if that'll affect my acting career. I don't know. I don't think that should, because that's not how people perceive it. I mean, Konkana Sen Sharma.
yeah, I mean, I think things are opening up a lot more, and people are not in those brackets anymore.
Yes.
I think that's
The worry is always that
So-
people they're very quick to label you. They're quick
yes.
to.
No, and I think that perhaps, like like you said, also particularly the last year, and you've kind
Yeah.
of established yourself in. I want to actually come to that. I mean, I will come to the theatre journey and all of that. But so in terms of obviously the OTT revolution
Yeah.
has been massively wonderful for a lot of actors.
Yes.
And you in particular, I think, have really thrived
Yeah.
from that. And I will take the name of an OTT project that you did. And what I want to know from you is your learning from that. Like,
Oh,
what was your
wow.
take home from that experience? And so I don't want to know about the process. It was all wonderful. I mean, great, and fame and lovely on-set
But that's
experiences.
lovely, because I'm also curious to think
yeah,
what
so like and in that stage of your life,
Yes.
what was your learning from that? And it can be one sentence or three.
So
or
are we doing the rapid fire right now?
It's not a rapid fire.
Okay.
I talk very slowly. So I'm just going to throw names at you,
Okay.
and you're going to tell me what you're learning
Learn.
from that one.
All right.
So, to be cliched, Mirzapur.
The best things happen when you get into it with no expectations.
Nice. That's great.
Because I didn't expect Sweetie Gupta to get the kind of love that it did, and Mirzapur came at a time where OTT was just expanding.
Right.
It was just Sacred Games
Yes,
and Mirzapur.
yes, it was one of the early ones, yes.
Yeah, so we didn't know what to expect.
Okay, Beecham House.
that you can still have an international career without having an American accent.
Nice. And Beecham House was something that you did with Gurinder Chadda.
Yes.
You also did a film with Claude Lelouch, and which
Yes.
was with Jean Dujardin and
Who I
Christopher
love. I have such a
Lambert,
big crush on him.
you kind of rubbed shoulders with them.
Yes.
Before I go into the next learning, it was that since you have done a couple of these international projects, and they were fairly high-profile international projects, what was the biggest difference you saw in like the work ethic?
The discipline. Akash, the discipline.
Is much more there, I'm assuming.
Oof. The discipline is much more. And I feel like here there's still hierarchy on set. And I don't think
Here in India, there is.
India,
Okay.
and I don't think people realize, like, does the spot by crew realize how important they are? Are they made to realize how important they are?
And that's something that's done there.
And
So-
just time. So I'm one of those people, and I think so are you, Akash. I think we arrive on time. We are people who value
they
time
respect the time,
immensely.
your time more.
But yahan pe, I feel like people look at me funny when I reach a place
time.
earlier on time,
Nice.
because it's understood the Indian standard time is always late. So I think these two things for sure. Yeah.
Back to the learnings.
Yes.
Okay, so broken news.
Ooh, learnings.
That's been a successful show. It's going into the second season.
Yes. A learning from the Broken News is that Broken News came into my life after I said yes to Guilty Minds, right?
Right.
So Kashav Kaze as a lawyer and
Yes.
Radha Bhargav as a news reporter.
Yes.
They're completely different personalities, but their
Sure.
goals and ambitions are very similar.
Okay.
So when Broken News came my way, I was very aware that this could be perceived as a similar ambitious,
right.
righteous character. So Broken News somewhere gave me the courage. It was a risk for me because I felt like it's going to come right after Guilty Minds and people might just say you're doing the same kind of things.
Right.
So my learning would be that take those risks without fear. And
With
trust
Broken
yourself.
News.
Trust yourself. Because
Right.
I had to create that
You
difference.
had to create that difference.
Yeah.
And you had to work harder for that.
I had to work harder.
So what's the learning from Guilty Minds?
Oof. With Guilty Minds, the learning is that always follow your instincts. Because on that show, there was so much happening, and there were days when I was very overwhelmed. I had a lot of self-doubt. Am I doing it properly? Because the character, there's a lot of responsibility that Kashav Kaze is given in the script. And I just had to keep going back to my instincts because there were places where my director and I were perhaps not on the same page with the approach. And it's very rare for me to always only rely on my instincts. But on this show, I did that. And I think that it helped me trust myself more as an actor.
Right. That's great. Taza khabar.
Taza Khabar is that some things you don't overthink, you just do it because it's fun. And Taza Khabar was just fun for me to do.
So you don't have to overthink it. And it
Yeah,
was-
so I mean, I was not the protagonist in the show, so that didn't bother me. I felt like I wanted to play a part that was very different from what I had done before. So as Madhu, the sex worker, is very different from
I mean,
Kashav.
you were the female protagonist of the show.
Yeah, but by that I mean that if
it
I have
wasn't
to...
about you like Guilty Minds was.
Correct.
Yeah, so
So, and I mean, I was not driving the story. That's
Right,
what I
sure,
mean.
sure.
Learning from Taza Khabar was also, I have so much respect for Bhuvan and his team and the way they created that. You know, for his journey itself is so inspiring. So, somewhere in the learning is that tomorrow, if I want to do something like that, I can, you know.
nice. Gone Game.
Ooh, Gone Game season 1, I will specify.
And you and say a little bit about how you made that.
Oh
But yeah,
man, Gone Game was a COVID pandemic
Yeah.
lockdown product
Yeah.
where one man army, we filmed from our homes. And it felt like a student project. So we went back to the basics and we were shooting remotely. And we were just so excited because we had work during the pandemic and this was the work, right?
Yeah.
To do that. And eventually, I think it turned out really well and was well received. So I think the learning from Gone Game would be that DIY is also not a bad approach to when you want
and
to
you
do
got to get
things.
back to your filmmaker roots.
Yes,
Yeah, so
I enjoyed that.
yeah. And what's your learning from a project like Bhangra Pale?
Bhangra Pale, for me, that decision was also because I loved the character.
Right.
And some experiences are, you don't think of how it's going to add value. You're just doing it because you want that experience.
And
You
you
know?
wanted to try that character
Yes.
because it was out of your cultural ethos.
Yes,
In that
and
sense, yeah.
Sneha is wonderful, the director, and I loved the script, and I felt like that for me was an example of no part is too big or too small, and I just wanted to. I loved Nimmo, and I thought कि थोड़ा से नाच गाना हो जाएगा, मजा आ जाएगा. So I just did it like that. I didn't overthink it. Not everything is meant to, be overthunk.
Overthunk is a good word.
Yeah.
I want to now actually talk about two of the films you did, and then I'm coming to the theatre journey.
Yeah.
Like you said, dad gave you a script. I'm assuming that's the film that became
Ekulti Ek.
Ekulti
Yes.
Ek, and that was your Marathi debut,
Yes.
and you won awards for it, and it was a great launch. And
It
then
was a simple launch, though. It was not like a big launch.
No, I mean, and then on the other end, you did Fan with Shah Rukh Khan, and which is again, as beginnings go.
Yes.
As beginnings go, it kind of was as good as it gets
Yes.
in a manner of speaking.
Yes.
And I don't mean this in a derogatory manner at all, but like, I don't know if you did another Marathi film.
Yes.
And I don't know if the Hindi films also kind of happened soon after that. Why was that, and how do you feel about that? Was it a conscious choice? And like,
I had to take a step back
Right.
because a lot happened too soon.
Right.
Rather, and I think I got overwhelmed, and I had to take a step back to understand how I feel about it.
right,
I still say that people just make assumptions about the fact that I don't want to do Marathi films. It's
Right.
just that the kind of Marathi films that have come my way in the past,
but they have.
they have,
They
and
have,
they
okay.
felt too urban, and they felt like Hindi films which are like Marathi.
In Marathi,
like
by-
I'd rather
no.
do something rooted, something more. The Marathi factor of it should be there if I'm doing a Marathi film. It shouldn't feel like a Hindi film.
Which was there in Ekulti Ek.
So Ekulti Ek was a different kind of a Marathi film, I would
Right,
say. It was a
right.
very contemporary approach to
Sure,
a Marathi
sure.
film. So I just felt like I wanted to do something else or play a different part or be able to portray a different character if I'm doing Marathi. So hence, there wasn't anything that I was drawn to in the
But
Marathi
do you actively
space.
look for something like that?
Well, I mean, I've always, communicated this to our friends Nipun, Avinash, Arun, that if they're making anything, I
In
would
that
love
space
to
that you
because
would-
they have a very unique voice.
Right.
Right? So they know. So I think filmmakers Chaitanya Tamhane, filmmakers whose work I have really liked, Nagraj Manjule, I have communicated this to them
Nice.
that, hey, just letting you know,
That
I would love to.
I'm Marathi too.
Yes,
So-
I'm Maharashtra too. I would
So-
love to do it because people do make these assumptions, especially as Sachin Supriya Pilgaonkar's daughter, because
Right.
they're synonymous to the Marathi film industry.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
So somewhere I feel like I'm answerable and I have to clarify this to people.
But do you think that the Marathi film industry, as it may be, views you now as a Hindi film actor who's kind of a little inaccessible?
I don't know if they view me as inaccessible, but yes, they do think that I'm only doing Hindi.
So perhaps they're not coming as
Maybe, but that's not true because I've also done a Tamil Telugu film with Rana Daggubati.
Yes.
And I'm very, very vocal in my interviews, mainly to put this point out there that aisa nahi hai. Tomorrow, if there's a beautiful Bengali film that comes my way, I'll be happy to do it. And I love languages. I want to establish myself as an actor who can do multiple film industries,
Sure.
Radhika Apte, for example, has
Sure.
done that
Yeah.
successfully. So I don't think language should ever come in the way. If I'm really trying to manifest like a French or a Japanese film for me or something
French
like
हो
that.
गया वैसे
नहीं मतलब उसे French नहीं बोल रही थी
हाँ,
ना
अच्छा,
मैं.
हाँ.
Yeah.
वो लाइफ में तो काफी बोल लेती है but,
And also to add to your question, you asked about Hindi films not
fan.
coming.
So I was talking about like in the sense that when you have a fan that comes out and opposite not one but two Shah Rukh Khans.
Yes.
But the thing is, does it ever feel that you didn't capitalize on it?
I don't think I capitalized on it.
It was a choice you made,
So I think I had a very innocent approach
right?
to my debut Hindi film with Shah Rukh Khan.
Right.
And in hindsight, I should have been more strategic about it.
Right.
Because today, before a film has released, you're already a star, right? You're already on covers.
Sure.
That PR machinery is
Yes,
at
yes,
work.
yes.
And at that point, I knew that this is not going to be a typical launch pad. So let the film come out, let people, if they like my performance, and then maybe I'll do what I have to do. Therefore, I didn't overly hype myself up before that. I didn't even have management before that.
Right.
And to be honest, when I look back, I feel like I should have used that platform better for myself.
Yes.
Because I have every right to be selfish about
No, absolutely.
mounting myself
Yeah.
as an actor.
Yeah.
And I feel like my parents came from a very different school of acting wherein they didn't have to do all of this. It happened organically. Therefore, it's not like they were telling me, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that?
But do you regret it? Do you look at it as a lost opportunity
Not at all.
to kind of capitalize on
I
that?
don't operate in regret ever. I
Okay.
think that's very detrimental to growth in general. That's not how life works at all.
So, a little bit now about your theatre journey.
Yes.
Why don't you talk us through it? And more importantly, I mean, I know that there is there's a selected number of plays that you have done, but in terms of, again, because we are using that as a theme from the theatre journey, and I know that, okay, there was freedom
to love.
freedom to love,
Yeah.
and then there was internal affairs,
Yes.
which you've done a lot of, and
With
and,
AK
and,
Various.
and what else besides that? There was what other plays did you do?
I've done internal affairs. I've done Bayan, which I enjoy
Yes,
with my girls.
Yes.
I've done government inspector.
Yes, you stepped in
Bits
for a
of it.
couple of shows. Yes, yes.
Bombay Dying, which
Bombay
we didn't
Dying,
do too many
which
shows
shut
of.
down prematurely. Yes,
But it's a play that I really learned a lot. It's one of my favorite plays.
yeah,
out of-
I loved it too. I
Yeah.
think it was a great.
out of AK
yeah,
Various,
so
yeah. So that one. Then Special Bond, I think I did.
You did step in and spoke French.
I think I did it because you gave me a line in French.
Yeah, you spoke French. You're playing a French girl in that. Yeah.
So that was fun.
And then there was
What
Common
else?
People, which
Common
shut down.
People.
Maybe plays with you shut down prematurely. Is
Listen,
that a
that's
thing?
not true. 100
Okay,
shows. Are you forgetting?
How has your theatre work, however sporadic it may have been,
Yes.
of late more sporadic, in the middle there was a lot of that going on.
Yes.
How's that impacted your work? How does it affect?
Immensely.
Like, in what way? How does that help?
Because that is firstly what helped me understand that I want to do this. That's where somewhere
sure.
the awareness of the craft
Yeah,
came.
yeah.
And I shed a lot of inhibitions on stage.
Okay.
So maybe if I hadn't got that opportunity, I don't know how I would have, how that journey would have happened. So just to understand myself, my body, how I am, how I navigate myself is something that only when you do theatre do you really understand that, to be honest.
Right.
While the acting approach is the same, I think naturally I'm more of a camera actor than a stage actor, which I don't have any qualms in terms of acknowledging that I think I'm better on camera than I'm on stage. And I say that only because it took me a while to understand or find my space on stage.
Yes.
Right.
Though I think, I mean, and I've had the privilege of watching you grow in a part, and the same part.
Yes.
Which is lovely, because of course you do various work, but
Yes.
and seasons of course of shows happen, but like internal affairs.
Yes.
And of the 100, I'm sure you've done about 60 shows, if not more, and there's been a very significant growth. I mean, I've seen you get more and more comfortable. And the thing is that one thing that I noticed about you the most, because internal affairs, for those who don't know, has a structure of talking to the audience a lot, and you got a lot more comfortable
Yes,
with that over time, and so
I
did
did.
Priyanshu.
Yes.
I think Priyanshu was very awkward in the beginning, because it's you're talking to a crowd, and it's a faceless crowd, but they're going to feed you the energy that you need. And I think both of you really opened up to that, to kind of and now it's reached a point in where the last shows where you kind of you play them really well,
Yeah.
and that was
It's funny because my director, your brother Aadhar, said to me, Chiu, I think your 100 show was the best one. I don't think we need to shut down the play.
wow, took you 100, huh?
Took me 100 shows.
Okay, I'm going to now segue to some of the research that we've done. Says that in 2020 you were ranked 40 in the Times of India's most desirable women list.
Really?
Did you not know this?
But 40, I'm really sad.
I mean, 39 others you can give a chance to, not you. You said you're okay not winning.
40.
Okay, so I'm saying, okay, let's say that so it's become quite clear now that you're in the desirable
Oh,
women list,
wow.
and in that sense, and because you're an attractive girl, and there is now this the pressure of this social media presence, and which is a fair amount of work, I assume.
Yes.
But it's also necessary, and something your mother warned you before even social media came in. How do you deal with that? How do you handle it? Do you like it? is that a part of your job that you like, this needing to kind of have this presence, this needing to be interacting all the time?
So I'll be completely honest.
Right.
I do it as much as I'm comfortable with. I stopped allowing social media to have control over me. And
But there
by
was a phase when it happened.
I felt like people were making me feel that I have to do more. And by more, I mean, oh, get someone, get a team, go put up a dance
But
video.
isn't that what the reality is?
It is, but to be honest, like for example, if I'm traveling and I'm making videos, I do it because I feel like आगे जाके film direct edit करूँगी तो let's practice. It's hilarious, but my thought process is that कि मैं reel बना रही हूँ, I'm doing it for my own sake, for my fun, right? I'm not really overthinking as much.
Couple of questions before we get into that.
Okay.
They're a bit existential, perhaps. But how do you feel about where you are in life right now?
Oh my god, this is therapy session, Akash.
No, but it's also I
Free
can't
therapy.
get away with asking this question to too many people. ना चाटा मार देंगे मेरे को कि
नहीं.
कौन है तू क्यों पूछ रहा है? हाँ,
How
how do you
do I
feel about where
feel?
you are right now?
I'm proud of myself, but I'm more ambitious than I've ever been. I am willing to go out of my comfort zone more than I ever have. And I'm willing to do what it takes to shed any inhibition, fears that I might have carried with me, because I know that growth and success is on the other side. So I think I'm just feeling very ambitious, but I'm
But you're also feeling confident enough to be able to take those bold moves.
Absolutely. And there's also a sense of, I will say, calmness in the fact that I feel very, very, very grateful that I've got to play some fantastic parts. And I don't take that for granted at all. I don't take anything for granted. In fact, I think if I feel like if there's a superpower that I'm slowly gaining is to really try and be as balanced as possible, because it's very easy to be shaken up even by some success or to
Yes.
be let down even by some failure. So I'm doing my best to operate with some sthirta, some stability. It's not possible all the time, but that's what I'm trying to do. And even just, I think I'm learning to enjoy the uncertainty.
That's nice. That's a good, brave place to be.
Yeah, I'm learning to enjoy it, and I'm also trying to think of what are the different creative ways in which I can keep myself engaged, wherein that power is not just with other people to hire me and to cast me. If there are things I want to do for myself, I'm really asking myself this question of what are the kind of paths I'd like to play? Where would I like to see myself without judgment? I want to answer these things to myself first, so that maybe perhaps I can then move in that direction. Or even, do I have the capability of now writing something for myself?
In Touchwood, you're getting busier and busier, which is great. How do you manage to balance a personal life with that? Because you're very busy. You're the busiest actor. I know
Last year
these
was
days.
very busy, but I'm pretty chill now.
And you manage to kind of still take out time for yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes, I
so-
do. And I think even if I have 2-3 days off, I'm that person who'll just go. Even if there's no company, I'll go to the mountains and go somewhere, because traveling is very important for my mind. I
Yes.
think I always come back a better, more refreshed person when I just take a breather, get out of the city where I shed the actor Shriya and the actor Shriya thoughts, and I'm just myself.
And you can do that. You
I
can
can do
switch
that.
off and-
Where it's not about anything else or work or when is that happening, when is this happening. Where you're just being and living, just being in the present. So I do that. And I just think though that initially I felt like I'm an extrovert. I love people. But when you're shooting a lot, then in my downtime, I just like to be. Then I don't think I'm someone then who'd want to overly socialize. If I just have that much time to myself, then I just need to gather my mind for a minute, which is why maybe I've become a little antisocial in
You
that
have?
sense.
Okay.
A little bit. I'm not looking to constantly go out.
taking time for yourself, which
Maybe,
is always
maybe.
Yeah. All right. So rapid fire or slow burn, as I like to call it.
Slow burn.
Okay.
Am I getting a hamper, which is the most important question?
You get a hug, even if it's bad. Or if it's
Is it
good,
a long hug or a short hug? Doesn't matter. I
The
still want a hamper.
duration, the duration does depend on how well you do. And if you do it fantastically, then we'll kind of make you meet people from your past who in Xavier's with you and all. We have some people here.
Do I get a play, Akash?
Do you get a play?
Yes. Do I get a fun play? Do I get more shows of internal
Do you
affairs?
have time to do theatre?
Of course I have time to do theatre.
Do you still want to do theatre?
Of course I want to do theatre.
This is a different conversation. This is when we ask you about rehearsals, I have WhatsApp messages to show that you're not available. So let's not even get into that. Okay, so some questions you already kind of answered in terms of missed opportunities and all of that.
Slow burn.
Why do you kidnap dogs? Okay, this is not here actually, but I think it was important to bring it up.
I don't kidnap
So,
dogs.
As an animal lover, why would you kidnap a dog?
I don't. Okay, if a dog is injured, I want to take that dog away and give that dog a home. I'm not kidnapping the dog.
Not from your parents, from people you worked with. Best piece of advice you've received about acting?
इतना मत सोच यार, बस कर. जयदीप अलावत.
Okay, nice.
अरे बस कर यार,
Okay.
कर लेगी तू. इतना मत सोच, कर लेगी
Best.
तू.
Okay, great. You told us about your first time on stage, which was, I mean,
Yes.
of course, not Dilna's and My Chocolates, but
Yeah.
the
Chocolate cake.
and but Freedom to Love.
Past.
Something memorable about the first shot that you did in the first film that you did with your father, the one that technically proves as your feature film launch. Was there a memorable moment where you took your first shot?
I remember Ashok Saraf, Ashok Kaka was also there, and I felt like everybody was really protective of the fact that this is my first film. I could feel the pressure in the room.
Yeah.
And when Dad and I were doing a scene, I think there was a point where Dad was mouthing my lines. And I, like, you know, when I was
You could see him
talking,
doing that.
and I was like, wait, Dad, just relax, don't worry. We've got this.
Nice.
We'll do it. You know,
Nice.
and then
you
it was
didn't
all
say eyelines
smooth.
shadow. That you say now.
नहीं नहीं मुझे replace कर देंगे ऐसे थोड़ी ना.
Okay, lovely. That's a nice story. You're a very well traveled person, and you love your travel.
Yes.
What's your favorite destination
In India?
in the world?
In India, it's Landor Mountains.
Which you
I
keep
love.
going back to.
Sorry,
yeah,
but I do.
And rescue
In the
stray dogs,
world,
yeah.
I love Japan, and I also love Spain. I went to Barcelona recently, and I felt like I had that moment where I said, "If not Mumbai, I could move
This
to
is where I
Barcelona.
belong, yeah.
You know, learn some Spanish, eat some tapas, have some
Not
sangria for
French anymore.
breakfast."
Wow. Okay, debauchery is your
Debauchery,
thing.
yes.
Okay, lovely. An Indian play that you watched that blew you away, that you were not a part of, but yeah, a play that you watched that blew you away.
There's a play, so there's a film called Witness for the Prosecution.
Yes.
Lovely film.
Yes.
My mother was in the Marathi adaptation called
stage.
Khara Sangaitsa Tar. And she was so good that my grandfather did not recognize my mother on stage and
Wow.
felt like it was another person playing the part. So that's one play. Another Marathi play, I have 2-3, can I mention
Yes,
them?
please.
A play called Yada Kadachit in Marathi.
Okay.
Very, very popular political satire. So growing up, I would watch a lot of plays at Dinanath.
Right.
It's like how Prithvi has a summertime, there would
Yes.
be like for kids, and I would go watch a lot of it. And recently, I would say I enjoy also what Patchworks Ensemble
Right.
does. So
Yes.
like a play like Ela
Yes, Ila
is
was
super fun.
wonderful, yeah.
It was something that I really enjoyed, and I love the vibe of a play, even like a government inspector.
Right.
It's I don't
The
know what
farcical,
genre that
yeah.
comes in.
I mean, it's kind of like a farce, yeah, and we kind of pushed it. Like
So I haven't seen enough of those, but that's something that I really enjoy watching on stage. Or even like a Piya Bhairupya was one of my favorite
Yes,
plays, you
yes.
know. Yeah, mixed bag.
Lastly,
Yes.
Now that you do have a significant body of work, what is the role that you are proudest of and why? And that can be only one.
Kashaf.
And why? That's Guilty Minds.
Guilty
for
Minds,
those
Kashav Kaze,
like
Guilty
me who haven't
Minds.
watched it.
On Amazon Prime.
Yeah, those
Akarsh,
like me.
take time
You
out.
know, there must be some people who haven't watched it. I know you're really popular, but like, and why? Maybe they'll give them a reason to watch it.
Playing Kashaf was genuinely extremely challenging because of how complex a person she was. It is very easy to play a character in a very black and white way because she has high ideals and morals. But Kashaf to me is many things. She's also somebody who equally on her off days goes to a salsa club, gets drunk, and at the same time is very virtuous, has high virtues, high ideals. She's very strong, but she's also very vulnerable. You know, she is she has many different personalities, and for me, I felt her when I read the name Kashav Kaze. I felt like I knew this person. You know.
Now I might watch it for the drunk salsa, if nothing else. But thank you, Chiyu, for
Thanks,
being a part of
Akash.
this episode and always teaching us so much.
We've had many serious
wisdom beyond. Actually, a lot of these have turned out to be quite serious, which I'm
Yeah.
actually quite happy about.
Yeah.
So, because I'm hoping that it's kind of like a side of you that's not easily available
Yes,
on the
true.
internet.
True.
You know, so but yeah, thank you for
Thank
being here,
you.
and
So
it was
fun.
wonderful.
It's the first time you and I have had a conversation where you haven't made fun of me,
I
haven't
did.
troubled
I did
me,
kind of make fun of
haven't
you.
taunted me.
I did kind of taunt you, but I think
Subtly.
But like the trolls, you're blocking me out.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So
true.
yeah, that's worked out well, I guess.
That's true.
So
हाँ.
we are done, and thank you for your time, and you can now leave.
नहीं पर
So-
hamper तो दे दो ना.
But what did you do to achieve that? I mean, like, why
मतलब,
would you deserve it?
Deserve, I think I was really honest and candid, and I gave you some anecdotes that I haven't shared before. You're telling me there was no hamper. If I knew there was no hamper, I wouldn't have like braved the Bandra traffic.
वो एक था दिलशाद का chocolate cake.
अरे
Dilshad being my
यार.
wife.
Hi, I'm Shriya Pilgaonkar, and I had such a great time on the Aadyam podcast, Unscripted with Akarsh Khurana. You can listen to it on BingePods, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever it is that you get your podcasts from. Don't forget to follow Aadyam on Instagram and YouTube for more updates on their future podcasts.